She didn't do it right here.
All right, I want to call to order the regularly scheduled meeting of the school district. And Nancy, will you call the roll, please?
Mr. Bang?
Here.
Mr. Beavers?
Here.
Mrs. Dorr? Here. Mr. Green?
Here.
Mrs. James?
Here.
Mrs. Miller?
Here.
Mr. Rungy?
Here. Next item is Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Navarro, would you be so kind?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we need to approve the agenda. Are there any
There is
changes?
one addition. New business number 3 will be added. It's gonna be the first reading of your policies. And it's an informational item.
Is that it? That's it? I'm assuming?
Yes, sir.
Yes, it is. Then I'll accept a motion to approve the agenda with the amendment.
So moved.
Second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We need to approve the consent agenda, which consists of District 186 regular board meeting minutes dated October the 16th, 2018. Tri-County minutes dated October the 11th, 2018. Tri-County bills for November 2018. Applications and reports. And I'll entertain a motion to approve that.
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Need to approve District 186 bills for November. Are there any questions from the board for Mrs. Bush?
I do have two checks that I need to void in your packet. Check 118,621 in the amount of $232 to Rick Runge for school board conference per diem, and check 118,622 for $232 to Shannon Green. Same thing, school board per diem. Both of those checks were returned. Will be voided.
Okay. Any questions from the board? Hearing none, then I would entertain a motion to approve the District 186 bills as presented.
Make a motion.
Second?
Second.
Nancy, go ahead.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Beavers?
Yes.
Mrs. Dorr? Yes. Mrs. James?
Yes.
Mr. Van?
Yes.
Mr. Rungy?
Yes, motion carries. Communications, and Nancy, I think you said you had 3. 3 or 4. You just have some.
Well, yes, I have a few. I have a verbal resignation from Casey Chansey. You had hired her as a para aide at the middle school, and she has left. So we need action on that.
The recommendation is to approve the resignation.
Further recommendation from administration, I'll entertain a motion to approve that resignation.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Dear Mr. Grody and school board members, I am writing to ask for additional 3 weeks of maternity leave with my second child. I would like to return on December 17th. She says, I am aware of sick and personal days and understand that she is out of those and will not be paid for some of that time while she's off. And this is from Brianne Yakish.
And the recommendation is to approve the extended leave.
Now I'll entertain a motion to approve that extension.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Dear Mr. Grody and the school board, please accept this letter of retirement as of November 7th, 2018. It was not part of my long-term plans to retire at such a young age, but due to my health condition, I feel I have no other choice. I would like to thank you for giving me the opportunity to be part of District 186 family for a little over 20 years. It has been a privilege working with everyone, as I have felt that our common goals have always been in the best interest of the students. Thank you again, John Keller.
The recommendation is to approve Mr. Keller's retirement.
Now I'll entertain a motion to approve that retirement.
I'll make the motion.
Second. Third. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. We want to wish him the best.
Dear Board of Education and Mr. Grody, it is with mixed emotions that I am writing this letter to inform you of my retirement with Murphysboro CUSD 186. My last day of work will be May 1st, 2019. I began my employment here with the district in July of 1997. I have thoroughly enjoyed my position here as payroll and district bookkeeper. My job with the district has served myself and my family very well. I am a graduate of Murphysboro High School, and all three of my children are graduates from here also. Murphysboro is very dear to my heart. I feel very blessed to have worked here and to have been part of the Murphysboro community for all these years. As they say, however, all good things must come to an end. With the decision of the board to offer the IMRF early retirement incentive, I have an opportunity to retire a few years earlier. I so appreciate this decision and thank all of you for this opportunity. This gives me a chance to move forward to the next chapter in my life and to spend more time with family. I am especially excited about getting more time with my grandchildren. Thank you again. Sincerely, Barbara Helfrich.
The recommendation is to approve her retirement.
And I'll accept a motion to approve that retirement. Someone in a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, and we want to wish her the best as well. That it?
That's it.
All right, fishbowl items, I know we had several. Let's start. Mrs. James, do you have one?
Yeah.
Let's start with you.
This is from Mr. Keener. It's thanks to the MMS Beta Club and sponsor Megan Bateau for sponsoring the Thanksgiving food drive. 1,261 items and $260 in cash was collected for the Murphysboro Food Pantry.
This one's from the Illinois Music Education Association. On behalf of the Illinois Music Educators Association, I would like to congratulate Mrs. Jessica White and the Murphysboro Middle School Chorus on their acceptance for performance at the Illinois Music Educators Association Conference. The Murphysboro Middle School Chorus performance will be on Saturday, January 26th at 8:15 a.m. This is the highest honor a music educator and ensemble can receive in the state of Illinois. In addition to this honor, Mrs. Jessica White serves as a leader in our section of the state, District 6, as the junior chorus representative. Mrs. Jessica White has been exemplary in planning for the upcoming district audition and festivals. She has a great future in ILMEA leadership. The Illinois Music Educators Association appreciate your support of music education. Once again, congratulations to your students, school, and to Jessica White for this honor. And I have one from Mrs. Ehlers. It is with great pleasure I can announce that Amy Brock's kindergarten class has been recognized as one of the 3 classes in Southern Illinois to receive the Classroom Kindness Challenge from WSIL-TV. The challenge was open to all classrooms in the Channel 3 viewing area and consisted of completing kind acts such as holding the door for someone, giving compliments to classmates, smiling at others, making new friends, etc. In appreciation, Mrs. Brock's class received a donut party and was one of the 3 classes in Southern Illinois to receive the grand prize of $500 for her class. I am very proud of the effort that Mrs. Brock puts forth in teaching her class the importance of being kind and respectful to others. In addition, she helps our district and her classroom by applying for grants and taking advantage of all opportunities to purchase items for her classroom with outside funding. Congratulations, Mrs. Brock's class, on a job well done. Sincerely, Carla Ehlers.
From Mr. Keener, congratulations to the MMS cheerleader competition team and coaches, Michelle Blevins and Morgan Smith. The team competed in their first ever event Saturday in Waterloo and advanced to the state competition in Springfield this coming January. The girls have worked very hard and certainly represented our school and community in a very positive manner. Special thanks to high school coaches Cheryl Brazel and Haley Wills for providing their knowledge and assistance, a great example of district teamwork.
And this, some events from Carruthers to share. On Wednesday, November 7th, the 4th grade students placed flags on the tombstones of veterans at the Murphysboro City Cemetery. Next day, on November 8th, Carruthers held a Veterans Day breakfast, followed by a preview of the concert with presentation of the colors by the Army ROTC to honor our veterans. And later that night, the 5th grade students participated in the annual Veterans Day concert, Music of Our Roots. Lisa Shields was awarded a flexible seating grant for $250.58 from the Murphysboro Education Foundation to better meet the needs of her 3rd grade students. We would like to thank Lisa Malure of Malure Orchard, who hosted a scarecrow competition and donated $500 in prize money to the winning class. Stephanie Hansen, with the help of Heather Parr and parents, took the following students to perform in the Illinois Music Education Association District 6 Jazz and Elementary Chorus Festival at Belleville East on Saturday, November 3rd. Mia Green, Summer Skelly, Regin Mason, Tyler T., Lily Rose, Jace Olson, Natalie Terrence, Greta Snyder, Journey Heath, Maddie Pulcher, Will Falconberry. Also, on the afternoon of Wednesday, November 14th, Carruthers students attended the Saluki women's basketball game as a PBIS Good Behavior Reward. And then also, we have a letter from the Illinois Reading Council. It states the conference was a great success. We had speakers from the international, national, and local levels. IRC Planning Committee would like to thank Katie Russell for her presentation, Increase Family Engagement at Your School, and Katie Russell and Leslie Forsman for their presentation, Butterflies and Prairie Grasses, an Introduction to the 2019 Monarch and Blue Stem Award nominees at the 2018 conference. We appreciate their willingness to share their time and expertise. The Reading Council is the state's primary organization for literacy opportunities. By attending the conference, knowledge was gained about the latest and best research, materials, and methodologies that promote literacy and learning. Participants should prove to be a valuable resource in your learning community. And the next conference is October 3rd, 2019.
Okay. This is from Andrea Geis, social worker at the high school. I'd like to publicly thank Shannon Green for helping out 2 of my students' families today. His employer does a lot of charity work, and because of their generosity and for Shannon thinking about my students, one family received a new washing machine and the other received a new washer and dryer. Thanks again, Shannon.
Another one from Andrea. Congratulations to Georgia Marshall and the entire kitchen staff on receiving 100s at all 4 schools during the latest health department inspections. Although they face challenges on a regular basis, they still get the job done and come out perfect.
Wow. She won't even look up.
It's a surprise.
Is that it? All right, that was an awful lot of good news right there. Freedom of Information Act is the next item on the agenda. Are there any? Were there any? None. Item number 10 is the recognition of the audience. The Board of Education welcomes the audience to make public or employee comments. The board has set aside time in the agenda specifically for this purpose. Pursuant to Board Policy 2.230, each speaker shall be limited to a 5-minute presentation. Please be aware that while this is the time for the public to express its opinions and/or concerns, the board may or may not comment regarding public presentations. If a matter of public comment warrants discussion or action of the Board of Education, such discussion or action will be added to the agenda of a future meeting. Are there any public concerns or comments? Are there any employee concerns or comments? Okay. Moving into old business, a financial update. Mr. Grody, this is informational.
Yeah, we've got the new governor. I would assume that we're going to have a budget, which is good news. If we don't have a budget, then we've got huge issues, but I would imagine with the Democratic House, Democratic Senate, the new governor being a Democrat will have a budget. The 3% is still questionable. I know that it was brought up at the Chicago conference, whether or not we'll have it or not. I will say that I signed a petition that was being passed around at Carruthers when I saw it there, and if you get a chance, you might want to sign one to try and repeal that issue. I think it's a important one to repeal, but right now, it looks like we're gonna have a budget for the next 4 years, and we'll see when are we gonna get the new evidence-based funding, in like March or
I haven't, yeah, I think it's usually.
April, they'll announce what they're supposed to be doing for the next years if they put more money into it, so.
Typically April. We did receive our first property tax payment at the beginning of November, so that was good news. Delayed receipt this year, but so that was good. $4.2, $4.5 million we got across all of our funds, so it helped to keep us going.
Any questions from the board? Thank you, Mr. Grody. Item number 2 is the resolution to establish a preliminary tax levy.
We talked about this last month, and decided to table this issue for now, or for last month. I was able to get some information from the county assessor, from Maureen Berkowitz, and looks like new property, initially when I saw new property across the 4 townships, Murphysboro, Pomona, Somerset, and Sand Ridge, totaling about 1.8 million, which is maybe a little bit more than what we saw last year. I took a look at that, and the largest lion's share of that is in Somerset, which when I checked with Maureen, it's over 800,000 of that is the new Egyptian Electric building, which is not in our district. So it's in our, when they break these down, it's not broken down by our school district, it's just by whole township. So maybe a little over $1 million in new property. Also looking at a negative multiplier from the Department of Revenue of 0.9806, which will reduce the overall EAVs. So I think I'm pretty comfortable at this point with that 4.9 number, staying under the 5%. Last year, with lower new property, the same, 12-month CPI of 2.1%. We ended up at about 3.17 prior year taxes extended versus current year taxes when we got our 2017 extension. So I don't think it will be more than that. We'll probably be a little bit less than that. So
Did you say 3.17?
3.17,
Extended.
and we levied for 6. So and did the truth and taxation hearing. So the administration's recommendation is to levy the 4.9 above what was extended in 2017, which would be a little over 7.5 million plus the 483,672 in debt service, which we will have to take a look at either in December or January for the board to decide if there's an interest in abating the county facility sales tax dollars. But we still have until the end of February to get that to the county clerk's office, but I would prefer if we're going to do that no later than the January meeting, whatever action.
We did
the
it
board-
January this year, did we
We
not?
did, and at that point, we were waiting to see what amounts we collected, because we only had 2 months worth of collections in November and December of 17, so, we've now had more than a full year of collections, and we've collected in the first 12 months 1.5 million, which from the other districts that I've talked to that have had the county facility tax for some time, it might fluctuate a little bit from month to month, but those yearly numbers don't really vary a whole lot. That's a pretty firm number.
Okay.
So
All right, questions from the board?
I don't have any questions. I feel like I just need to kind of go on the record and say, I feel like this 4.9 is just being carefully utilized to get around a public hearing. And I'm not really in favor of that. I feel like we're kind of skirting, or we're like exploiting a loophole. And so I feel like, I just don't feel like that's what we do as a public body. I get that 4.9 is enough, but in every other year I've been on the board, we've looked at 5 or 6, obviously. So
Can't
Say
we do
that I know I'm the
4.9
only
and
one.
still have a public hearing? There's nothing that
I
says we
would
don't.
assume we could,
Yeah.
but I feel like,
If that's what,
we're,
Why would you though?
right, I feel like we're doing 4.9 specifically to avoid that public hearing, and that, I just don't.
but if we levy more, then that potentially,
I understand that, but
yeah,
I think we all know what my point is.
yeah.
Every other year it was 5 or 6, and now it's strategically 4.9, so this is kind of
Wasn't there more money?
my on the record
in your
comment,
property?
I
Last
guess.
year's 3.7, year before was 2.8.
let's see, I have my spreadsheet here. Let me think where it got stuck in there.
Can we not extend it?
2.31, 1.95, but again, it depends on the multiplier. In those years, we had CPI of 0.7, 0.8, so we have a higher CPI, which is why, we wanted to push that up a little bit.
This year, we don't have that worry about leaving money on the table with higher
Right.
because we were gonna thought we left money on the table. This year we don't need that, so.
And we're not gonna receive anything, you know, our limiting rate under tax caps is going to give us the most, I mean, they're gonna push us back anyway, based on our new property and, you know, that calculation. And I completely agree with what you're saying, but the fear is if we set, if we go the other way, which, you know, Mr. Green and I talked about lowering that down to, you know, 4% or 3.5.
Oh, I'm
then
not in favor of higher taxes.
Then we
I'm just
do-
saying
No, I know.
strategically.
I know,
we're
but
a
that's, I
tenth
mean,
of a
that's the,
percent lower, so.
that's one of the dilemmas that all districts face,
Right.
is do we have the hearing, we know we're not going to get 6%, and if we say we're going to ask for 6% and have the, or, you know, 5.2, and have the hearing, then you get taxpayers upset because they don't understand that you're talking about apples and oranges, you're not talking about apples and apples, because we're not talking about what we received versus what we're going to receive or levy to levy, it's what we extended and what we're going to levy. But I completely understand what you're saying.
But in reality, it would be less than 4.9.
Yes.
So therefore, why create the public concern and the anxiety of the citizens when reality brings us under the 4.9?
Right. Which is a decision that, you know, a lot of other boards have made, not here necessarily, but in the past, you know, why rattle everybody and get them upset when, under tax caps, when you know. If we weren't capped, I think it'd be a completely different situation.
Any other comments, questions from the board? All right, hearing none, you've heard the recommendation from administration for the tax levy. I will entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Let me do a roll.
Oh,
Yeah.
Do you mind?
no, that's fine. It says voice on here. That's
That's okay, I just, Mr. Beavers?
Yes.
Mrs. James?
Yes.
Mrs. Dorr? Yes. Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
No.
Mr. Bain?
Yes.
And Mr. Rungy?
yes. Motion carries. And that makes item number 3 null and void. Moving to item number 4 is a resolution of the Joint Government Purchasing Program.
Yeah, this is for the Tri-County Special Ed Co-op. At the last board meeting for the Tri-County, they took a vote and decided they'd like to join the purchasing co-op. It's for purchasing of vans. It's where they go out, this co-op goes out to bid and does the process for you. It's like a state co-op. We've joined it before in the past. Because we are the fiscal agents, though, we need to have the resolution. So the recommendation is to approve the joint governmental purchasing program for the special ed co-op.
Questions from the board? Then I will entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving into new business, the first item, district leadership team, school leadership teams.
Yeah, this is kind of just a, well, it's an informational item to update everyone. With the Every Student Succeeds Act, there are some due dates. November 15th was the due date for indicating the planning year. We did indicate that we wanted to have a planning year this year. November 30th is the due date for the grant, the 1003A Title School Improvement Grant. That's already been written and submitted, so that one's done. January 30th is when the needs assessment, this was originally the needs assessment they wanted done in November.
Is this because of our test scores?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah,
And
this
which
is the,
schools were affected?
General John A. Logan is commendable. Middle, Carruthers is underperforming because of the student group with IEPs. The middle school was underperforming because of the student group IEPs and the student group Hispanics and the student group multiracial. And then the high school was commendable. So 2 of the 4 schools were.
Well, but I looked at that data and that's not what, we talked about that it wasn't because of race.
All I can tell you is that with the data that they did on the one with the growth and whatnot, we are identified at the middle school for Hispanic and for multiracial.
the state
For the-
identified us that way?
Yes, as underperforming. Those are the three
But
student
by,
groups.
because of Hispanic and multiracial?
Yes. On the school report card.
But because they put them in subgroups and it has to do with those subgroups, doesn't it have a certain percentage of with the subgroup? Or is that different than what?
It has to do with the subgroup, but then also the growth within that student group. Trying not to use the word subgroup.
Because the bulk of the bad scores were from white males.
Yeah, but if they look at the aggregate of the group, and if it's under a certain target, then they're identified. But if they're under that certain target, but they can show for the past couple of years that that group has been making what they expect to be adequate growth, then you're not targeted. So like the general, which doesn't do the state assessments, they still look at the historical trends of the state data, and so they were commendable because the growth at that level was well, even though our third grade does have some groups that are underperforming. I've got scheduling a phone call with this lady named Ray at the state board, where we can go through and we can look at our data a little bit more closely. But all I can tell you is that the Carruthers is underperforming, and it says IEP next to it, and the middle school is underperforming for IEP, Hispanic, and for multiracial. The needs assessment is due January 30th, and then February 28th is when the school work plans, when the school improvement plans, the kind of the goals get submitted to the state. Because that piece needs to be board approved, we'll have an action item on February 18th for the school improvement plans to be brought forward. Right now, we've met as a district leadership team, and we said that by November 28th, we wanted to have the Illinois Quality Framework done. Talking with my administrators, it's more in depth than we originally thought, and so we're probably not gonna have that done by the November 28th, which is next week's deadline. However, that's not technically due until January 30th. Once that quality framework's done, you start looking at your 5 essential survey data and your test scores data, and you have to develop these work plans by February. We originally set the goal for work plans to be done by February 6th, which probably won't be able to be moved. We're gonna need to have the work plans done by then unless the state changes the due date for the work plans, because it has to be board approved. So we have to have them done before the 18th. And then that will allow us to come back and have staffing needs based on what direction we wanna see the district move toward as we try and close those gaps and get the scores where they need to be. We might need some staff, we might need some resources, so in March, that's when we will start looking at that. We did get a grant, as I said, for this. It's gonna cover the cost of what is called an Illinois Empower Representative. It will also cover stipends, and it will cover programs of things that we might need from the school work plan. So really, this year being a planning year, what it's going to do is it's going to pay for a 1-year contract with a company that's gonna help us go through the Illinois Quality Framework, help us review the data, help us do the state work plans. We're gonna develop and bring to you guys recommendations is what we're gonna do for next year's staffing or next year's supplies. And so we'll be able to cover some stipend costs for our people working on that, training from the Illinois Empower and the program needs. It is still very much a program in flux. This is the first year, everybody's doing a planning year for the most part. The data has changed several times. Originally, I told you all that we were underperforming in 3 of the schools. General John A. Logan, Carruthers, and the middle school were originally identified. They dropped the general and they added those other groups. So they dropped the general because of the growth, is what I was told. So that's kind of the big picture view. Questions?
This will be an actual local person that comes in and work with the teams, or how will this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've, when we were identified before for our special ed, this last year, we were doing a response-driven accountability, which is the new state model for focused monitoring. What used to happen when we were focused monitored is they'd come in, they'd look at all of our IEPs, and they would basically say, yeah, no, you're not doing anything wrong. They never dinged us on anything like that, but we would have to come up with some plan to try and have less IEPs. This response-driven accountability was a new initiative brought in by Tony Smith, and it allowed us to look at data, do some analysis of the data. What we found was our core curriculum is really lacking in the RDA, and that's where we started talking about, well, we've got these textbook adoptions, we've got some classes that we need to, teachers that we need to bring back. And we're still following up on those meetings with the RDA, but when we were doing that process, we were assigned the Illinois Multi-Tiered System of Support Network, and Roxana Aldridge specifically. And we've been working for the last year with her. She knows our organization, and so that's gonna be the next item is that I'm gonna recommend that we engage the Illinois Multi-Tiered System of Support Network with, as our Illinois Empower. We don't have to name an Illinois Empower person until later. However, I'd like to have a person that's gone through the state training to assist us in this process as we move along. But that's getting into the next item.
Other questions? Thank you. Item 2 under new business is the contract to partner with Illinois MTSS Network. Closure number 1.
And I sent you the contract. It is what she originally sent me. The big thing on there is the budget. The contract is pretty much boilerplate. It's created by the state. It gives us the right to terminate it within 15 days if we deem that this is not working for us. I'm recommending that we go with the Illinois Multi-Tiered System of Support, not to exceed the amount given there, so it'll be covered by the grant. The good news is that the Multi-Tiered System of Support is gonna charge around $44,000. Originally, we were told we only got $15,000 per building, and we had $45,000 because of the 3 buildings that were identified. Since then, different things have happened in the state, and we've grown to about $127,000. And so right now, I've put in very vaguely the programs and needs and the stipends, because we're gonna need to define that later. As we figure out what our needs are and what we're gonna spend on it. But I'm given the option to be able to pay staff stipends for extra work outside, and I've put money aside for programs or software or other data analysis stuff.
And left things like for professional development or whatever they need to? Or?
Yeah, no, a lot of the professional development will actually be done by this organization, and so there'll be other professional development that teachers can go to, but that'll be out of a different grant. But when it's working on this process of data analysis and looking at tools for specifically how to drill down the school scores, so like we might do training on Ed 360. I don't know if that's what we'll do, but that'd be an example of what like the Illinois Multi-Tiered System of Support would come in and they would show us how to navigate that system so that we can better teach all of our teachers how to get the specific real-time data from that. So the recommendations to contract with the Illinois Multi-Tiered System of Support for the amount presented so that not to exceed, and it'll be covered by the grant.
Any other questions from the board?
Do you have any insight on how many districts this particular provider will be working with?
I do not.
I'm just curious if they had a significant number.
I don't, but I can check.
I was just curious. And how were they selected, I guess would be the other question I might have.
I selected them specifically because we've been working with them already. And when you looked at the list of the Illinois Empower, I don't know any of them,
Okay.
so.
Other questions? Then I'll entertain a motion to approve entering into the contract with Illinois MTSS. Second,
I'll second.
Nancy?
Mr. Beavers?
Yes.
Mr. Bain?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mrs. James?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Mrs. Dorr?
Yes.
Mr. Rungy?
Yes, motion carries, and item 3 under new business is the one added, the first reading of policy information.
And you've got your pile in front of you. This is the first reading. It's in the accordion. Ms. James is holding up. There you go.
Got it.
The hunger-free student bill of rights, are we going to advertise this? It says it's up to the district.
I don't know. I haven't read them yet. We just got them. Did we get them today or yesterday?
Just, yeah, a couple days ago.
But
Just
that may-
So we want to at least get this first reading out real quick so that before I leave.
Just grab the Thanksgiving lunch.
Instead of watching football. Okay. Then we have a need to move into closed session.
Make a motion to go into closed session pursuant to section 2 of the Open Meetings Act 5, Illinois Compliance Statute 120/2C, to review the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the district, including hearing testimony on complaint lodged against an employee to determine its validity.
And a second.
Second.
Nancy?
You guys.
It was a gal, it was Mrs. James.
Mr. Beavers?
Yes.
And Mrs. James?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Bain?
Yes.
Mrs. Dorr?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Rungy?
Yes, motion carries. We'll see